And if you're not familiar with this game, this is a game for 1 to 4 players that takes about 60 to 120 minutes to play. And in this game, players are going to be using the power of water to compete to build up their energy empire. Each player is going to be starting with their own character ability as well as an assistant that also adds another ability, which you'll be able to mix together in different ways from game to game. But this is a game that plays over a number of rounds, and at the start of each round, players are going to be placing their workers out on the main board or their own personal player board in order to perform a variety of different actions with the goal of building different machinery out on the main map in order to process water as it comes down the different channels, because also at the start of each round, there's going to be new water tokens getting put at the highest elevation out on the board. And these are going to trickle down the different channels, be controlled by different dams and machinery that players are able to build, hopefully being processed in order to generate some energy for one player or another, and eventually making their way off the board. The game plays over 5 rounds, and like I said, players are going to be placing their workers, and if you want to place workers on your own player board, this is going to allow you to unlock new machines that you'll be able to put out on the main board. Each of the machines is also going to have a resource cost associated with it, but the number of workers that you need to build a particular piece of machinery is going to increase every time you build that specific type. This makes building the same type of machinery more difficult as the game goes on, but you are able to use that machinery immediately, and when you do, you're going to be putting the associated tokens out on your own personal dial, and you won't be able to use that machinery again until it makes a full rotation. The nice thing is that this gets rotated anytime that you either build a machine or use an action that gives you a free rotation on this dial. Like I said, the main board also has a bunch of different action spots as well, and you can use these action locations in order to do things like gain contracts that you can complete to gain victory points or additional boosts, resources, or upgrades. You can also use it to get more machines in a different path. You can use it to get additional spins on your dial, gain additional money, or add more water to the board, in addition to the water that gets added at the start of the round. But of course, the grand objective here is to generate energy, and there is an action for that. And when you do that, it's going to allow you to move water tokens throughout the main board. Each of the different machinery types and buildings will have different effects, giving you different options as you're moving the water throughout the board. For example, the dam does allow you to hold water in a reservoir for processing later, and you are able to stack your dams, allowing you to hold one additional amount of water for each dam that you're able to stack. Depending on the machinery you have, as well as the channels that you're going to be directing the water through, you're going to be earning a certain amount of energy, which is going to be granting you victory points. And of course, it's not just your machinery out on the board. There are other players' colors as well. And there are some ways that you can use your opponent's machinery, but they do get some benefit from that. This is a game that has been out for several years now and has stood the test of time, with it getting a ton of positive reviews as well as a really nice rating on BGG. So this one is my own personal pick of the week. I think it takes a really unique approach to the Eurogame genre with the way that the water flows through the board and the way that players are able to interact with it. And that whole dial mechanism isn't something that I see too often, and it's really interesting how it limits the amount that you'll be able to activate your machinery out on the main board, making it really important with how you time activating your machinery with the water that is trickling down through the channels. And I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant to make this one my pick of the week just because it's not adding a whole lot of changes to the core game. It's just going to be adding a couple maps. I'm sure there'll be a lot of surprises in the campaign as well, and I hope to see that. But honestly, expansions don't have to be giant heaping changes to the game, and I do kind of like things that I can just throw in. Even when I just get started in a game, I think this does fit that build. And for a game that's been out for a while like this one has, I think these boards are going to be a great way to allow players to change up their strategy without completely changing the way that the game plays. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if each of these maps also brings in a few of their own mechanisms as well. But if you want to know for sure, you'll have to check out the campaign, and I will have a link for that in the description below. And of course, you can click to get notified.